Mr. Terupt, December. Chapter Peter. Last month, Mr. T told us we had to read some stupid book and go spend time with the retards. That was what I thought at first anyways. That was what I had always thought. The collaborative classroom was where the retards went to school. I guess it was James who made me change my mind. I mean, the Summer of Swans was not okay. Or was okay. Sort of. But the collaborative classroom wasn't what I thought at all. The kids were actually pretty cool, especially James. If something spilled on the floor, or if there's a bunch of objects spread out on the table, he could tell you how many there were just by looking at them. I mean it. He could tell you immediately. No counting required. No matter how many there were, 312 forks, 813 Legos, he always got it right. And James was kind of cool to hang out with. He gave me low high fives, not high fives, because eye contact was tough for him, and we played games. I liked going to see him. So I liked Mr. T's next idea. He never ran out of ideas. Alright guys, here's the deal, he told us in December. We're going to have a holiday party just like every other class, but it's going to be different. Of course, I blurted out. That's no surprise. I do that sometimes. I open my mouth before even thinking. Actually, that's a lot of the times. Everybody, even Mr. T, cracked a smile because I was right. You're all going to form small groups and work to create a center focused on a certain holiday. It might be Christmas, Ramadan, Kwanzaa, or Hanukkah. Mr. Terupt kept going with the directions, but I didn't catch most of it. I was thinking. Then I did that blurt out thing again. Mr. T, can we invite James and his friends to our party? Everyone was quiet and looked at me. Then Jessica said, I think that's a great idea. And the rest of the class agreed. Mr. T had a smile stretched across his face, and he nodded, and I thought I saw him wipe away a tear at his eyes. I don't know why he did that, though. Chapter Jessica. I chose Ramadan as my holiday. I wanted to research something I knew very little about. I ended up in a group with Anna, Danielle, Jeffrey, and Alexia. Alexia wanted to be with Katie, Wendy, Natalie, and Heather, but Mr. Terupt did not go for that. If he was looking for trouble, he understood. Our task was clear. When Mr. Terupt announced the project, he said, your centers will need to include research component, a game, craft and activities, and food. Your center will need to operate all by itself because you'll be visiting the other centers when people come to visit yours. My group started talking about who would do what, but Alexia didn't let that go long. Like, you need to do the research, Jessica, because, you're the smartest of the group. Anna's too stupid to read that kind of stuff. Anna just stared at the floor. She used to do that a lot, but not as much these days. It wasn't just her head that went down this time. Her entire body sagged after Alexia's nasty comments. Alexia looked at Jeffrey next, but she didn't have the nerve to say anything. Then she smiled at me and Danielle. She got nothing in return from me, but I could tell Danielle was half smiling. Jeffrey and I collaborated on the research while Anna and Danielle were in charge of designing the arts and craft activity. I wanted to work with Jeffrey. I had shared my secret with him, and he needed another chance to share his with me. Anna and Danielle had done fine together with the plants, so I knew they'd work well together this time. Plus, I hoped Danielle would become friends with Anna despite her grandmother's warnings. Alexia named herself as our group manager. According to her, she was responsible for overseeing all of our projects. Or, as she put it, I'll just watch and make sure that everyone is doing what they're supposed to do. I'll be, our manager. And I think she meant the boss when she said manager. We went along with Alexia's grand plan because it was easier not having her involved in our tasks. But that wasn't good enough for Alexia. No, she tried to do her best and got everybody mad at each other because that's what she was all about. One day during one of our project time meetings, I was with Jeffrey and Anna discussing how we were going to put our center together. Danielle was nearby organizing arts and craft materials that she and Alexia would be using to tirelessly create something. Then Alexia made her move. Don't you guys think that Danielle should be in charge of the food? Alexia said loud enough for Danielle to hear. I braced myself for what was coming next. I mean, just look at her. Like, she's so fat, she must be good with food. Danielle hurried out of the room. None of us said or did anything. It was as if we thought pretending nothing had happened would make it better. It didn't. My turn to be hurt was next. Alexia didn't spare me. Jeffrey and I decided that making a trivia game about Ramadan was the perfect way for people to learn about our holiday that we had researched. It took loads of work, but we had just finished writing all our research questions and trivia cards, and then Alexia entered. She must have just come from the bathroom. She wore fresh, shiny lip gloss and chewed on a piece of gum. She paraded over us with an exaggerated hip motion in her jean skirt and zebra tights, bent down and grabbed some of the trivia cards. She looked them over, but I didn't think she actually read any of them. She snapped her gum, and she was not supposed to have. Like, nobody's going to understand any of these questions. And she stared right at me. Nobody even understands you. Not with all your stuck-up words. Like, you just want to make everyone else feel stupid. You think you're so smart. And she flicked the card at me. That wasn't true. I didn't try to do that. Enter Mr. Terupt. Alexia? I looked up and I didn't even know he was there. Alexia didn't either. She spun around, alarmed. I think it's time for you to follow me. He escorted her out of the room. They were gone for quite a while. Enter Mr. Terupt without Alexia. Where was she? I need to talk to the four of you now, he said, looking at Jeffrey, Danielle, Anna, and me. We sat down in our project area. I've watched Alexia be unpleasant to all of you. I hope that one of you are going to stand up to her and tell her to stop. None of you did. I looked down. I knew I should have done something. I wasn't strong like the friends in my books. If you let people get away with being mean, they're going to keep being mean. You need to stick up for one another. Even Alexia isn't tough enough to make fun of you. Not if all four of you stick together. I could feel Mr. Terupt's eyes on me, and he leaned forward, trying to peer up into my face. He tried to make eye contact with the four of us. We all stared at the floor. You should be disappointed, he said. You should stand by each other. That's what friends are all about. Still, we sat quiet, and Anna wiped her eyes. So did Danielle. Don't sit and pout, Mr. Terupt said. That won't help anything. You need to work together, learn from this, and don't make the same mistake again. Exit, Mr. Terupt. What was Jeffrey thinking, I wondered. What was Danielle thinking? How about Anna feeling? I'm never talking to Alexia again, Danielle said. Me either, Anna added. That's no better, I said. We don't have to be friends with her, but we can't shut her out. We have to be bigger people. I looked down again. I feel as disappointed in myself as Mr. Terupt did in all of us. I wasn't brave enough. Chapter Luke. Our bathroom is positioned directly across from the hall of our classroom. Who cares, right? I never thought about anything of it until the day I felt trapped out there. I saw the shakedown is a $1 word, all compliments of Peter. I was in the classroom working on my holiday center. All my materials were spread out on the floor, and I was busy calculating the proper dimensions for my game board. Mr. Terupt was on the other side of the door, checking in with a different group. I did not notice Peter. I stretched out on my belly and worked the math. The soles of my sneakers pointed up, a great invitation for Peter to mess around. I never felt the thing. He's definitely sneaky. I sometimes wonder what the likelihood is a $1 word, Peter will grow up in the world as a famous thief. I had no clue anything was ever happening until I heard the giggling and Peter said, Hey, Luke, what kind of sneakers are those? Elmer's. I popped my head up. What are you talking about? You better be careful. If you try to go anywhere in those, you might get stuck. I looked back at my feet. Mess around Peter had struck. The bottoms of my sneakers were completely covered in Elmer's glue. You're a jerk, I said without any real authority. Truth is, I didn't really care. It wasn't worth getting upset over. Besides, I'm sort of used to Peter's antics. I thought they were always harmless. I untied my shoes and placed them next to me. Bottoms up, of course. Until I finished my math class. Peter's victory celebration was cut short by an easy solution. Maybe I didn't get upset with Peter because I know I'll always outwit him. This drives him nuts, but I love it. Once I finished my calculations, I grabbed my sneakers and headed to the bathroom. Mr. Terupt was still busy with a different group, so he didn't see any of Peter's shenanigans or me leaving the room. I held my shoes under the sink and washed off the glue. Then I wiped the soles dry with a paper towel and put my sneakers back on. I pushed the bathroom door open and quickly jumped back inside. I was trapped. Mr. Terupt was having a conference with someone in the hallway. I pushed the door open with a crack to see who it was. You've done it your way, he said. Mr. Terupt had his back to me. I was leaning forward, talking to the person against the wall. Now you'll do it my way. He straightened up and folded his arms, and he meant business. And that was when I saw who it was. Black and purple streaks covered her cheeks, a combination of makeup and tears. Alexia was crying. I had never seen or heard Alexia cry before. I like you, Lexi, but I want some of your classmates to like you too. I'm trying to help. I want you to be friendlier. Friendlier is a dollar word. I will not tolerate your meanness anymore. Wow, was this really going to work? Go into that bathroom and wash your face and come back when you're ready. Is there anything you want to say before I go back in? Alexia stormed past Mr. Terupt without even looking at him and without even saying a word. Mr. Terupt let out a big sigh and shook his head. And then he walked back to the classroom. I wondered what he was thinking. I had decided not to say anything about my sneakers. It didn't seem important. Mr. Terupt had a more serious matter on his plate, like discipline. Discipline is a dollar word. I waited a few more minutes before following Mr. Terupt into the classroom. I didn't want to seem obvious that I'd been eavesdropping, but I was eager to tell somebody about what I had seen. That's why I think I walked into the classroom a little rushed and wasn't even paying attention. Even if I had been, it probably would have happened. I barely walked through the door before I stepped in a puddle of water. My feet went up and my arms flew out. I flailed like an ostrich trying to catch his balance. Somehow I managed to stay upright after sliding across the linoleum floor to the carpet. Mr. Terupt was having a serious conversation with Jessica, Danielle, Jeffrey, and Anna, so I didn't see any of it. But Peter, Ben, Nick, and some of the other guys rolled around in hysterics. I knew that they were done, or should I say, what Peter had done. He likes to put his thumb over the opening of the water fountain. Fountain is a dollar word. And push the button. It's another one of his infamous stunts. This makes the water shoot all the way to the door. And that's how the puddle miraculously appeared on the floor. Whether Peter meant to have the water on the floor or if it just ended up there after he sprayed someone else, I don't know. Either way, it doesn't matter. I don't have time to do anything about it because someone else came through the door just after me. She must have been making her rounds, going from class to class just to do a few visits at a time. Today was her unlucky day. Miss Williams took one step into our classroom and hit the water. I felt sorry for her. She was wearing a navy blue suit, a jacket, and a skirt with high heels. She wasn't able to keep her balance and her foot shot way out to the side as soon as she touched the puddle. I thought she was going to do the splits, but then her other foot touched the water and slid forward. Miss Williams fell backwards and her arms grabbed empty air. She landed smack on her back right in the middle of the water with her legs stuck in the air. That was when I saw my principal's underwear. I couldn't believe it. I knew I shouldn't keep staring, but I couldn't look away. We all gawked at her multicolored flower underwear, and that's not the best part, or the worst part of it, if you're Miss Williams. Her underwear was a little bit discombobulated. In other words, she had a huge wedgie. It was unbelievable. I'll never forget it. Not as long as I live. I swear it. It was the day I saw my principal's underwear. Mr. Terupt ran over to her and the rest of us fought to keep from laughing. It was our principal after all. Even Peter wasn't snickering. He actually looked a little bit nervous. Mrs. Williams, are you okay? Mr. Terupt said, helping her to her feet. Peter, get some towels to wipe up this water. Why did he pick Peter? Because he knew Peter's antics led the water to being on the floor. I'm sure it was his way of letting Peter know. I'm okay, Miss Williams said, brushing herself off and smoothing out her clothes. Sorry for my interruption. She turned and left. Oh, how embarrassing. As soon as the door closed behind her, the laughter and whispers started. Clearly this can't happen again, Mr. Terupt said. We're lucky Miss Williams didn't get hurt, or that someone else didn't either. I expect we won't have water pool on the floor like this again. Mr. Terupt looked directly at Peter after seeing this. Oh yeah, he knew. And he shook his head. Then he walked over to his desk. I thought for sure this event would be unequaled, which is a dollar word, or by any other for the rest of the year. Little did I know that something much bigger was coming our way.